boy, of how he's willing to sacrifice his life to change his people. Likewise, you find the brethren of Yusuf alayhi salam, as we mentioned, and Yusuf alayhi salam himself. And then the crux of the companions. Go and read through the lives of the companions, and what do you find? A large portion of them were young individuals. You know, the few, yes, elderly individuals, but even those elderly individuals, Umar becoming a Muslim at the age of 27, other companions 28, 29, according to Sharia, they're still classified as young individuals. But you find young companions like Ali, Mu'adh ibn Jabal, who are there around the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam at young age. Young age, some of them are. Zayd ibn Thabit, young age. So these were individuals who devoted and committed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or before that towards obviously Islam, and then following the pattern and teachings of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. الَّذِينَ اسْتَجَابُوا لِلَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. Who answered the call? Who answered the call of Allah and His Messenger? It was primarily answered by these individuals, that they responded to the call. And thus you find that those Quranic ayat that we find in general praising any of the companions is talking about the companions. Whenever you come across such ayat inside the Quran, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ أَلَّا تَخَافُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا. Those individuals say, our Lord is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remain steadfast upon that. Angels come down upon them and greet them. Who is it talking about? It's talking about the companions. Those are the real believers. Likewise, the beginning of Surah Al-An'am, the 6th chapter of the Quran, mentioned the description. Those individuals, وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ, their hearts begin to shake, quiver, when they hear the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. More ayat are recited upon them, increases them in certainty, in obedience, in tawakkul, in reliance. Who are these individuals? أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ حَقًّا. They're the real believers. These companions, these men and these women who are around the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who've been chosen, been selected, who've been forgiven. لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ يُبَايِعُونَكَ تَحْتَ الشَّجَرَةِ فَعَلِمَ مَا فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. Those individuals who took the pledge, 1,400 or so in number, underneath the tree, were forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, pardoned. They are pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَعَلِمَ مَا فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew what was inside their hearts. So when people come and make ta'an al-sahaba, come and abuse the companions, or revile them, or say things about them, then this is tazkiyah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah knows and knew at that stage what was inside their hearts. Thus they were selected to be the men and the women around the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And thus we find that we go back and we read through their seerah, and you find the groups of these individuals. Mu'adh ibn Jabal, whereby one occasion the Prophet Muhammad said to riding next to him, Ya Mu'adh, inni uhibbuk. Ya Mu'adh, I love you. These are deep words. You know, the Prophet Muhammad had this amazing ability to get into the hearts and the minds of the people around him. When a young boy, you say to him that I love you, obviously today's world it means a different connotation, but then it means it's something deep. Here the teacher's never going to praise his student, never going to show love and affection. You know, one individual said, I got 10 children. 10 children, never kissed them, never show rahmah to them. What did the Prophet Muhammad highlight to him? That rahmah has been snatched out of your heart. How do you not show love and affection towards young individuals? So many of our teachers, we're not murabbiyun, we're not good teachers. We don't have the ability to build a bond with the youth, with the young individuals. A young boy came, said to the Prophet Muhammad, give me permission to commit zina. Today, imagine somebody coming to the masjid and saying, give me permission to commit zina. You know what's going to happen, don't you? He's not coming out of that masjid alive. You want to commit zina? Come round the back and show you. So imagine such words. And this is the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, man coming, young boy, and saying to him, give me permission to commit zina. What did the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam do? Look at his ability. We always talk about prophetic traditions and ahadith. Sometimes we just memorize them. That's it. We're just like, just like computers memorizing things. It's the practical application and the durability to take those ahadith and to make a changing impact upon people. He said to this young individual, Do you have an aunt? Do you have a khala? I said, yes. He said, would you like someone to do this action with your auntie? He said, no. I said, that's how people are. Do you have a paternal aunt? Ammatun. Would you like someone to do it with your paternal aunt? The young boy said, no. He said, that's how people are. Your mother, your sister. Gives all these parables to this individual, begins to understand that if I don't like it for my family member, then how can I go and do it with another person's family member? Then the Prophet Muhammad placed his blessed hand on his chest and prayed for him that make him steadfast, وَأَحْسِنْ فَرْجَهُ, and keep him to guard his private parts. This individual was never seen looking at strange women ever again. Great blessing. Sometimes we think that, the companions, they never had temptations like we had. Companions riding, his eyes fall upon a woman. He looks, the Prophet Muhammad pushes his face away again. He looks again, the Prophet pushes his face away again. For us, if the person looks, then it's a big slap coming in the back of their head. So obviously it doesn't change the person, does it? لَكَ الْأُولَى وَلَيْسَ لَكَ الثَّانِيَةِ. You have the first instant glance. It may happen just as something comes in front of you, you may glance. But you don't have the second glance. You don't have the right to look at it again. And obviously we know the weird and wonderful views that begin to exist inside a society. What's wrong with free mixing of the sexes? What's wrong? It creates raha, it creates rest, creates competition. It creates looking for your future bride or your bridegroom, whatever it may be. These type of thoughts are challenging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Quran says, أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقْ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ. Does not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala know what He has created, and He is the most subtle, the most aware subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran tells us right in the beginning of Surah Ali Imran, the 3rd chapter of the Quran, زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. Man loves women. Full stop. So there may be a few odd individuals, may have some problems, whatever it may be, but an average individual, the Quran is saying, زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. The most covetous greed that a person has is towards these actions. And then it comes the wealth, the children, the branded horses, the property, the wealth, the gold, the silver, etc. Likewise, the Quran mentions, لا تقربوا الزنا إنه كان فاحشة وساء سبيلا. The Quran says, don't go near zina. لا تقربوا الزنا إنه كان فاحشة وساء سبيلا. It's an evil misconduct and a destruction, a path of destruction. Look at the language of the Quran. Quran doesn't say لا تفعلوا الزنا. Quran doesn't say don't commit zina. It says لا تقربوا الزنا. Don't go near anything that leads on to zina. Hadith in Sahih Muslim. Al-Aini Tazni, the eye commits zina. The ears commit zina. The mouth commits zina. The hands commit zina. The legs commit zina. And then the private parts, may Allah forbid, fall into the major zina. So this is what we're surrounded by at the moment. Even yesterday, centuries ago, mentioned why a person should be vigilant about trying to understand these texts and try to live them the real meaning. That the person who purifies themselves, then the reward will be immense. Likewise, many people think the companions, maybe they weren't into designer labels. What do the companions know about what we find around us today? Dobbs and Gabbana and Calvin Klein and Moschino, Armani. Even if you go and study the history of Valentino and these individuals, understand why the trousers are tight-fitting. Go and study the research of why they designed these trousers. So some people think that, they never really had the dunya. But that's why you should go back and read the life of some of the companions. You'll be startled. Musab ibn Umair, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, was a young boy. When he would walk down the streets, everybody knew that he's walking through the streets. The smell of his perfume, the fragrance that he was wearing, you knew that it was Musab ibn Umair. The latest garments, the latest clothing, brought in especially. That's what Musab ibn Umair was. The same individual who becomes a Muslim,